If you're depressed and you're watching me, firstly, maybe you don't want to admit you're depressed. But this question came from somebody that I know, who I know has depression, has suicidal feelings, and who doesn't want to work with their psychology, or believes it's going against non-duality. And there is ways to help you balance that depression to an extent. 4 years ago, I went and did talks with a group called A Course in Miracles. The teacher was called David Hoffmeister. Isn't that the name of a famous actor? Anyway, so apparently I called them a cult before in my talks, but I think that I've only ever done it jokingly. I think I said to them, they're my cult friends, and if you are from one of them, from the group, the organization, I apologize for saying that. I was making fun, and maybe I was being a little bit passive aggressive as well, because I've had certain experiences with organizations and maybe there was a bit of a stab there, although I'm not sure about that. I can't even remember saying it, but somebody told me I said it. And I know that I definitely in private off the live streams would call them my cult friends as a joke. So anyway, they live as a group, and you can join this group. I think they're currently living in Mexico, but there's lots of complicated details to it, and I've spent quite a bit of time with them in America. And anyway, they have a certain way of living together. So you do all this mind training, and you have to do activities every day, and you go and actually live with them. So you give up your old life and you go and live with them, and that can be for 3 months, it can be for years, it can be for 1 month. And when I went to stay with them, I kept asking questions like, so how many people have had awakenings? How many people have had this? How many people have had that? And the thing that I repetitively heard, which really surprised me, is people with clinical depression that had joined the group had completely got over the clinical depression. They weren't awakened, they still had emotions and difficulties and happy times like everybody, but they completely got over depression. And some were clinical depression, which I think is the worst type of depression. And I think they also had some people with manic depression, but the people that I met, I must have met about 10 people who live with them. One of them was living with them full time, one of them was for a period, and they completely got over it. And this is what they said to me, and I didn't feel like they were lying in any way or trying to big up the group or trying to say it to make the other people happy. They literally said, you know, before I came here, I couldn't get out of bed, and for the first period they struggled to get out of bed, but the people in the group forced them to get out of bed and forced them to participate. And this I repetitively heard, and I heard about other stories of people that I didn't meet, and I believe that to be true. And I understand why these people have got over depression completely in that organization. I can see it from people I work with and from my own understanding with family members. I'm sure people know, have read my book or know about some of the stuff that's happened in my family. And basically the most important thing that they do in this organization, just one second. So basically what they do in this organization is they force the people to get out of bed and to participate in life and to look at their depressive tendencies. So they force the people firstly to change their behavior, and they can't get out of it, and they force the people to do activity, and then they force them to look at that and to speak out what they're thinking and feeling in a group. And there's lots of other processes they do, but these are the main dynamics that happen. And I know it to be true. I don't think that depression or mental illness is a genetic thing. I think it's something that we learn, and it's a trap that we get into, and the chemical imbalance isn't something that was already there. It's something that happens through what's happened in our life, and completely changing our life in that way can have profound effects, really profound effects. And I think you've even heard me recommend it to people who have struggled with depression on Ustream, and I would really recommend it to anyone. There are issues when you're involved in a group, and I can talk about that with you, but maybe not appropriate now. And there's this sort of cult mentality that you have to be careful of. It's not the Course in Miracle people, but when you're in a group, everyone, you get identified with that, and then it's like, yeah, we're the best. But I think that our society, I think that a lot of people in our society struggle with depression. And I think predominantly the reason it is it's not genetic. It's the way that our society is set up. It's not healthy for us. And I think it's going to get worse with all these interactions on the computer and the phone and not meeting people. Like, I live a very remote and reclusive life. I also live quite a social life as well, but like, I spend periods social and periods reclusive. But I went through years of training, of learning how to be by myself. Like, so say if you lose your job or you end up not working or being ill, if you went from doing things all the time and being around people to nothing, to being at home, I think most people would go into depression because they don't know mentally how to deal with that, and their thoughts will begin to spin on meaning, which will make you feel bad, and you just have all these thoughts and ideas which will most probably decrease your serotonin production and increase depression. And there are ways out of it. And if you're sitting at home using non-duality to not deal with that, it's not going to work. Like, you have to deal with these things. I had to deal with a certain amount of Lisa shit. It's just the way it is. Some people, so I heard somebody saying that Papaji or Mooji or these sorts of people never dealt with any of their psychology, but maybe they were fairly balanced people. I think a lot of people are unbalanced. But then when you're ready, and when there's no suffering which can come and go happening in your body, then you can hear that you aren't limited. And that's beyond the person. That's not got anything to do with the person. It's there, free. You are this. And it's not about you staying in this. It sort of makes it sound like it's this energetic disattachment from this person. And that's ultimately got nothing to do with the person, but I really recommend calming down the person. Because more than likely when the person is suffering so much, that's not going to happen, that's not going to change. But then on the other level, just so we don't get stuck in the psychological level, you are free already. This is the instant path. There is nothing experiencing this. It's just your attention is on a thing. But there's nothing experiencing this. There's nobody experiencing this. Okay, maybe we go to some questions. Hi Thomas, so beautiful, Lisa. Love how you describe the personality aspect and separate this from the idea of enlightenment and awakening experiencing. I think that's the key. Really work on the psychological issues fully and embrace this with far less fear, with a great awareness. Exactly. I also feel emotions pass through far quicker than ever before, just like clouds rolling over, not belonging to anyone, just an experience. Yeah.